You see, the wheel of time weaves the pattern of the ages, and the threads it uses are lives. It is not fixed, the pattern, not always. If a man tries to change the direction of his life, and the pattern has room for it, the wheel just weaves on and takes it in. There is always room for small changes, but sometimes the pattern simply won't accept a big change, no matter how hard you try.
Hello, I'm Will, and this is my wife, Dallas.
Hi!
And this is Not the Beginning, a podcast where a longtime Wheel of Time fan and someone who's never read the series before read through each of the 14 books in this very long series. A warning, this podcast may not be suitable for younger audiences and will contain spoilers. If you've not read Robert Jordan's The Eye of the World, please proceed with caution.
On this episode of Not the Beginning, we will be diving in and discussing chapters 36 through 40 of The Eye of the World. I have not read past chapter 40, and Will is going to do his best not to bring in anything from the rest of The Eye of the World or the other 13 books during our discussion. So as long as you've read through chapter 40, you should be good. If you haven't, I recommend pausing and here and going to read them.
Last episode was the Rand and Matt show. They made their way to Camelin finally. This episode, unfortunately, instead of having summaries that I wrote, I sliced my hand pretty good and can't really type at the moment. So we're going to use the very helpful chapter summaries from dragonmount.com. So, starting off, Matt refuses to leave his room at the inn. He's been growing more and more suspicious of people since Shadar Logoth. Rand meets an Ogier named Loial in the library and mistakes him for a Trolloc. Loial mistakes Rand for an Aiel man and then identifies him as Taviran, someone who bends the pattern into a new shape. We switch then to Nyneave, who sneaks into the Whitecoat camp and cuts their picket lines. She grabs Bella and another horse while Lance searches the tents. With Perrin and Egwene, we have Child Byar, who believes that they're slowing them down, suggests that they might be accidentally allowed to escape. A wolf tells Perrin help is coming. Lan incapacitates Byar and the guards. Perrin and Egwene don white cloaks and escape in the confusion as Moraine weaves lightning among the tents. Perrin's eyes have turned yellow. Back with Rand again, he attempts to get a look at the false dragon, but a filthy beggar chases him away from the main road. Rand climbs the wall for a better look at Logain, but then falls to the other side. Knocked unconscious from the fall, Rand comes to in the palace gardens, tended by the daughter heir of Andor, Elaine Trakand, and her brother Gawain. They are discovered by Elaine's half-brother Galad and taken to Queen Morgase. Rand is interrogated by Morgase, her Aes Sedai advisor Elida, and Captain General Gareth Bryn. Elida foretells pain and division for the whole world, with Rand at the center. She tries to convince Morgase to take him prisoner, but the Queen believes Rand's story and sets him free. So, unlike the last couple episodes where not a whole bunch happens, a lot happens here.
Yeah, and we meet a lot new characters.
So many new characters. And people who, we've met other characters, but are they really going to stick around? A lot of these seem like they're going to stick around.
Yeah. Well, you would know if they stick around or not.
But also, we just spend so much more time with them, and we get a better description of them, and Rand interacts with them.
Yeah.
It's more on the Rand side. It's all on the Rand side. Except a little bit on the Perrin side, too. So we have Loial, Egwene, Gawain, Galad, Morgase, Elida for Rand.
You said Egwene.
I meant Elaine. We did not meet Egwene. I meant Elaine. And on Perrin's side, we have Byar. And he's really the only one who I think
he's
stands
not new,
out.
though.
No, he's not new. That's true. We have not met him. We have already met him.
Yeah. We met him last section.
But
he's a piece of work.
Yeah. We meet several pieces of work here.
Yeah.
Starting off initially with a good one. Loial's a great piece of work. He is a fine piece of art.
I don't think that's initially, or that's how that phrase is intentionally supposed to be used, but
I'm here for it. Anyway, Loial's great. I love him.
It was a good attempt at a segue.
But he's great. He just wants to read his books. He wants to go places and see things. He's like the ultimate tourist.
Yeah.
So for context, Loial is an Ogier.
What is an Ogier?
An Ogier is just a different species of being.
Okay. Because when they were talking about it, I was like, am I supposed to know what this is? Have they mentioned them before and I just don't remember? Because it's been taking me so long to read this. We've been reading this book for so long.
Yeah. They've maybe mentioned Ogier before, but not in any detail.
Okay.
It is mentioned, Rand tells Matt at some point, hey, you've heard stories about Ogier. You should know about them. But Matt promptly replies with, nowhere did it mention them looking like Trollocs, which they don't actually look like Trollocs, but it's easy to see how somebody could be confused because Ogier are massive.
And have some animal-like features.
Yeah, they've got their face is sort of bestial, but it's the hair and the fur.
Yeah.
I think that really sets it off. Because when Rand first meets Loial, he's like, oh shit, it's a Trolloc.
But then it starts talking.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, maybe not a Trolloc. And then Loial just introduces himself. And what did you call it? They play the politeness game? Or...
Yeah, they're both trying to out-polite the other because Rand's first response is like, oh shit, you're a Trolloc. And then he's like, no, wait, hi, I'm Rand.
He wants to be like, what are you? But he's like, maybe that's a little rude. Let me start by introducing myself.
Right. And Loial the whole time is talking about how humans are either basically just hyper as shit or they don't live very long. And every time Loial does that, he's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you.
Yeah. And Rand's just like, no offense. I'm also trying to think of oh my god, you're so old.
Right.
Without being offensive.
Right, because we find out Loial is 90, and apparently that's considered not quite adult for Ogier.
Yeah, it seems kind of elvish ages.
Yeah, that's actually, I think Ogier are supposed to speak to elves in general.
He did seem a little bit elven and druidic in that sense, because he went on about trees for a good long time.
Ogier loved them some trees.
Their
meeting is called the Stump.
Yeah, and he's from the Steading.
The Steading, yes.
Which we saw last section.
Yeah, Perrin and Egwene have been in a Steading, and that's.
Is there only one, or is it the Steading, or is it just a Steading? Because he calls it the Steading.
Yeah, but that's just kind of a term.
Okay.
The Steading is plural.
Okay.
There are two Steading. It doesn't sound quite
fish.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like fish.
One fish, two fish.
Yeah. But with Steading and weird druidic, not Trollocs, who are, again, quite big. At one point, Rand comments that Loial sitting down is bigger than some people standing up.
Yeah, and that's a lot coming from Rand, who's also really tall.
Big dude.
I think he said something, I think there was a number mentioned, 8 feet tall or something. I don't know.
10.
10 feet tall.
He was near the ceiling of the room.
Jesus. He's a tall boy.
He is, but he's also very much like a gentle giant.
That's what I was just about to say.
He's carrying 4 or 5 books on him.
Yeah, and I just love him too. He's just so I don't know. In my brain, I know he doesn't have glasses, but I just imagine him wearing a big cardigan and corduroys and glasses.
He might canonically wear something kind of like a cardigan, just with big pockets, like an Ogier-sized cardigan.
Yeah, he just has librarian vibes,
Yes,
Dark Academia librarian vibes. And there's a moment where he talks about how he was too headstrong and
he took a whole year to make a decision, and the rest of the Ogier were like, why are you thinking so fast?
Yeah, and saying that he was something not headstrong, but Rand was like, if you're headstrong,
what do the others do?
Well, yeah, because you're really calm.
Right.
You'd be even-tempered in the Two Rivers.
Yeah.
I mean, most people.
Most people would be even-tempered in the Two Rivers.
And
it's aside from Tam.
They're known for their stubbornness.
Yes.
Which even Gawain mentions later in one of my favorite moments. Yeah. So funny.
We do get a different variety of story time with Loial, too. We get story time with Loial, which sounds much more like a happy bedtime story.
Yeah, it's like a librarian telling a story.
Because he's got a deep, rumbly voice. You just want to lay in bed all cozied up and have Loial tell you a story.
Yeah, he's more let me tell you the story about a thing you don't know.
Yeah.
Rather than
and it's partially because
sit down. I'm gonna educate you because you're dumb. Which is the Moraine story time.
And then there's Tom's story time, which is look at me, I'm fantastic.
Yeah.
But part I think of why you get Loial's story time is that Rand feels like he can trust him.
Yeah.
Because he tells Loial everything that happens, which he hasn't done to anybody yet.
Yeah, he hasn't. He tells him everything, and then he even makes a comment about how this is the first time he's felt like he's actually had someone to talk to. Because
Matt.
Because I don't remember exactly what the wording was, but basically Matt's like Matt doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Which was so sad.
Matt's having a real hard time.
Matt's having such a hard time. My notes literally just say, poor Matt, and then I have like several bullet points underneath.
It's kind of...
That's like the topic heading is just, poor Matt.
It's kind of interesting that you're like empathizing with Matt so much, because a lot of people on their first read through at this point just don't like Matt, because he's acting like a little bitch.
He is, but he's not acting like this because of his own volition, and I think that's what and maybe if I wasn't reading it so slow, I might have that reading. But I'm taking my time really reading this and digesting it and analyzing it with you every other week. So I understand that Matt isn't really acting like this because of his own volition. And even if he kind of was, he probably has some PTSD and depression. Like, he's too depressed to eat. He's exhausted. He believes everyone is dead. And then he won't leave the room. I'm sorry, that's depression. Like, poor boy is depressed and he just needs to be wrapped in a hug.
He has a fucking depression dagger, which is way worse than the tumbler hot knife. Yeah. At least you can make toast with that. The worst you get with depression dagger is just like unending sorrow. Yeah,
at first it was greed dagger and now it seems more like depression dagger. But I'm not sure if that's just because he's around so many people or if that's just how, like, at first the dagger sparks greed in you. And then the longer you have it is when the depression starts to kick in.
I have thoughts on this that I think we get to next time.
Okay.
That...
Because I haven't figured out the mechanics
of this. Similar lines.
Yeah, I haven't figured out the mechanics of this dagger yet.
Yeah.
It's not like the tumbler hot knife where it's like that was pretty immediately like...
Right.
What this knife does.
Hot.
It's hot. Probably set a barn on fire. Like...
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's about all we get from Matt.
That is, because he hides in the room.
He's just hiding.
He literally burrows farther into the bed like he's trying to become one with it. Mood. But I just want to give him a hug.
Matt needs a hug. Matt still needs a hug. It's true. Back to story time with Loial, though. We learn about something here that is going to come up a lot. I made a mention of it last time. ta'veren.
Yes.
We start to learn a little bit more about the pattern and the wheel of time.
So we touched on it a little bit in the quote at the beginning, but can you just explain ta'veren?
So to put it in, let's say, succinct terms, ta'veren are main characters. In universe, they are people around whom the pattern weaves itself for a short time.
Yeah.
It's main characters.
They're main characters.
It's plot armor.
Okay.
Which, I'm sorry, that's kind of fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, why are all these main characters having important things happen to them? Well, because it's a thing in this world that main characters have things happen to them.
Right.
And it's clearly not just good things. Like, Loial stresses, like, this can be bad. A lot of people don't want this.
Right, and that kind of goes into what's-her-face, Elida says about Rand is at the heart of the world dividing. And that kind of goes along with that, like...
I have some thoughts on that, too.
But it's just, this isn't the first time that someone has mentioned something about how Rand is a turning point. And Loial goes on and says that all three of them seem to be ta'veren at the time. Like, he thinks that all three of them, especially as a unit. And Moiraine has kind of said something similar about, like, she hasn't called them ta'veren, but she's like, no, it wasn't Moiraine, it was Min.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When Min was going through her creepy aura time, she was saying something about how all of them have, like, an energy void around them, and I think what she's seeing is ta'veren.
Their ta'veren nature.
Yeah.
So a couple of things on ta'veren. The ta'veren touch on the kind of themes of the wheel weaves as the wheel wills, where ta'veren don't have what they want to have happen around them. They have what the pattern wants to have happen around them, good or bad.
Right.
Another thing with ta'veren is that people can be ta'veren for any length of time. It's not something you're born as. It's something you become, and maybe you're not later.
Okay.
So it's entirely possible that Rand may not have been a ta'veren at the beginning of the series. He could have become one
partway through this book.
Right. And going back to last episode, this is where that lightning strike could be very easily explained by this. Weird shit happens around ta'veren, And that can include lightning hitting a wall randomly.
Yeah, I still don't trust it. But
That's fair. Just you hadn't read about Taviran yet. I was like, it could be explained.
Yeah, that is a possible explanation for it, and I'm open to that being the explanation for it. But there's also, like you said, Taviran is basically the main character, but that there's other things in the world that can explain some of the things that are happening to these main characters, not just Taviran.
Definitely.
Like, a lot of what happens to
Perrin
and just Egwene, because Egwene's the main character. We haven't gotten, like...
So I will say one of the things, Egwene is not Taviran. And I absolutely think something that they could do in the show that would improve it would be to make Egwene Taviran. Because she is.
Right, she does so much.
She does a lot. And I kind of get it for two reasons. One, things don't necessarily arrange themselves around Egwene as they seem to around the boys.
And a little bit Nyneave.
Because
especially in that section later when she's, like, creeping up on the camp and they just don't notice her. Like, either they're real dumb or it...
Well, with Nyneave, I disagree, because Nyneave, a lot of time is spent developing Nyneave as capable of doing these things. She snuck up on Lan. What the fuck are random White Cloaks gonna do
That's true.
to Nyneave? Like, she can sneak up on fucking Lan Mandragoran. Random ass, not Nazis are not gonna have anything on her.
That's fair. But it seems like it could be set up for Nyneave to be Taviran at some point. Especially because when, like, and that's where the Min creepy aura time is coming in, because when Min meets Rand later and says, the second Nyneave came in, that aura got stronger.
Yeah.
So it seems like there might be something going on with Nyneave at some point. I'm like...
That's fair.
It seems like Taviran's going to be...
I will bring up two other things
throughout
here.
It seems like Taviran's going to be something that happens throughout the entire series, because I don't think 14 books are going to focus on just Rand, Matt, and Perrin. Like, there's got to be other characters that come in. Like,
well, we already have another viewpoint in Nyneave.
Right. And there's got to be... Because there's, like, a whole bunch of other characters that I have never even heard of, or that I haven't come across that I've heard of, like, just seeing names in the ether and on the internet, that they have to be, like, main characters at some point.
Yeah,
like,
so two things on that. One, someone doesn't have to be Taviran to be a main character.
That's true, but...
Like, and the other one kind of plays into that with clearly... I think it's pretty clear that Rand, Matt, and Perrin all have similar things happening to them. So if one of them is Taviran, probably all three of them are.
Right.
And especially at that bit with the White Cloaks, if it's strange that Nyneave is able to do that, it could be Perrin's Taviran nature causing it to happen.
That could be as well.
Or Egwene's, because, again, I think Egwene should be Taviran. But
I think my main point is that it's a 14-book series, and there is no way that Rand, Matt, and Perrin are going to be Taviran the entire time. And it seems like this is an important enough lore in the world that once they are no longer Taviran, another one will pop up at some point. It's a 14-book series.
Sure. Yeah.
That's definitely my prediction for, like, 7 years down the line when I finally get to it.
Yeah. So we
will have another Taviran before the end of this series.
Okay. Hot take, I guess.
Not hot take. Just prediction. It's a take.
It's a take. We've gotten into it a little bit, so let's shift gears a little bit to what's happening with Nyneave and Perrin and Egwene and Lan and Moraine. Perrin gets rescued.
Yay! Reunited!
Perrin and Egwene get rescued.
Reunited.
Yes. It's quite nice. And there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Perrin is not feeling so good.
Perrin's not feeling so hot because the White Cloaks kind of beat him regularly while they had him captive.
They beat Egwene a little bit as well, but Perrin took the brunt of it.
Clearly. Because probably they're like, well, we don't want to beat a random woman.
Yeah, like she has some bruises. But... And
Egwene didn't kill two of them.
There's that.
And what we learn later... Egwene doesn't have weird wolf eyes.
Yep.
Perrin has weird wolf eyes now.
Yep.
Like Elias.
I kind of love that for him a little bit. I don't know why. I just do.
All right.
It's interesting. And for most of the book, Perrin's just been this simple boy. Like, everyone thinks Perrin is this simple boy who doesn't have anything special about him besides the fact that he's been lumped in with Rand and Mat. And now he has something that's his.
Now he has the most special thing.
Right. And...
Because even if, as you believe, Rand can channel, other men can channel.
Yeah.
So far, we've only known of one man who can also talk to wolves.
Elias. And we get a lot of interesting information about the Wolf Eyes and Elias from Lan, who doesn't seem to be freaked out about Perrin's Wolf Eyes. And he kind of thinks it's cool a little in, like, his little Lan way. Like...
his little Lan way?
I have feelings about Lan this section.
I think Lan's take there is on... It kind of comes down to, I think... Perrin's ability to talk to wolves is going to be whatever Perrin makes of it, not anything inherent.
Yes, and I liked that take from it, because Moraine's kind of just like,
Right, and I think
Elaine,
it also helps...
not Elaine, Moraine is taking the same take that the Aes Sedai tried to take with Elias, which is just, you're evil. And Lan...
She doesn't understand it, it's bad.
Yeah. And Lan doesn't understand it, but he knows someone who previously could do this, because... Elias was a warder.
Yep.
And Elias trained Lan, it seemed.
I don't know if he trained, but they were at least contemporaries.
But he said, like, he touched his sword and was like, he taught me a lot about this. So it seems like, at least I read that as Elias was some sort of mentor, or at least, like, he looked up, even if they were kind of contemporaries, he looked up to Elias at least a little bit.
Elias does give good advice regarding weapons.
He does.
Because he gave Perrin that advice about the axe.
Yeah.
So maybe he was just like, hey, Lan, that's a cool sword. You should keep it. And Lan's like, yeah, okay. But actually, Lan is always going to keep that sword.
But yeah, Lan... I just have feelings about Lan. I like Lan.
Lan is great.
And
apparently, also, we will come back to this, taught Rand more than Rand thought about a sword. We'll get to it.
Yeah, because I'm a little, like, he doesn't use it in this section, does he?
No, but Gareth Bryn is like, he knows how to use it. He walks like it's his.
Oh, yeah. That was an interesting scene.
And, like, where else could that have come from but Lan?
Yeah. It's probably, that moment is probably just a imposter syndrome thing for Rand. A little bit. Like,
yes and no. He hasn't really trained. He got, like, a couple weeks of training.
But he
anyway,
also...
We're talking about Perrin.
Yeah.
We're talking about Perrin and Lan and Nyneave and Egwene and Moraine and the rescue attempt.
So, yeah. It starts with just a fantastic moment, and it's so small, but Nynaeve's just standing there holding the reins for Maldeeb and... not Maldeeb. Mandarb. And...
Ridiculous name for a horse.
Mandarb and Aldeeb. I accidentally created a horse ship name.
Oh Lord, we do not need horse ships.
No,
no one needs that.
So she's just holding Mandarb and Aldeeb's reins, and Mandarb is not having it. He does not like anyone but Lan. And Aldeeb's just like nuzzling at Nyneave, and Nynaeve's like, well, I'm not gonna make you suffer just because Maldeeb's being a horse dick. Mandarb.
If Mandarb was white, he would be that horse from Tangled.
From the picture I have of Mandarb in my head now is now my grandfather's horse, Imagine, who is a dick. He's just like the worst horse ever. And that kind of makes me think that at some point Lan might punch a horse in the face, just because now I'm... My grandfather once punched a horse in the face because it was cornering me in a stable. And...
It's not what you want.
That's not what you want. So, grandfather just, like, walks up to the horse and just kind of, like, punches it in the nose to get it to stop. Horse was not phased.
Mandarb wouldn't be phased either.
Mandarb wouldn't be phased either.
Mandarb isn't phased by shit.
No. He only lets Nyneave take his reins when Lan is basically like horse whisperer, like...
He only lets Nyneave take his reins when Lan literally hands them to her.
Yeah. He's like, okay, well, if Lan trusts you, then I do too.
And Aldeeb's just like...
I want nuzzles.
Give me pets.
Give me pets, please. Loved it. Not at all like... Mandarb is a little bit like Lan in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Aldeeb is nothing like Moraine.
No.
You'd think, like, they spend enough time together. I like the idea that pets are like their owners.
I don't know what that says about our pets. We have a demented old lady and a raccoon.
Yeah.
These are actually cats, but one of them is a raccoon/demon.
Oh.
And the other is a demented old lady.
She's 19.
She's very old.
She's very old. Anyway.
So they hatch this plan.
Yeah, they stumble upon the White Cloak camp. There's just like a few paragraph span of them traveling, I guess, in which Moraine realizes when Perrin loses his coin and when he gets it back. Like, she can feel it, which is weird. Like, I know it's magic. I know it's already been established, but it's still weird.
They're tracking them. They're tracking Perrin by it.
I know. It's just like a weird bit of magic, and because I don't quite understand it or know what the magic is, so It's just weird to me still. Unsettling, not weird. Like, I understand it. It's just unsettling. Okay. Nyneave also finds it unsettling.
I mean, Moraine is a slightly unsettling woman.
Yeah.
In general, so.
So they stumble upon the White Cloak camp, and Lan wants Nyneave to sneak in and create a diversion. He's like, cut a few of the ropes off the horses so that a few of them go. Nyneave goes extra.
Nyneave cuts all of them and steals one.
Yeah.
She goes into the camp. She's just cutting lines left and right. And then she comes across Bella and is very happy to see Bella because she's like, oh, okay, Bella's here. That means Egwene is also here.
Right.
And then she's like, okay, well, I'm going to take Bella with me. And then if Bella and Perrin are here, that means that there are two of them and we need another horse so we can get away. I'm just going to steal this other horse, too.
Yeah.
And so she just steals two horses from in the middle of an army.
Yep.
Because it's a full-on army.
Yeah. She lets all of the horses go and then steals one. It takes her a little bit longer, but, she goes baller.
Meanwhile, Lan is ninjaing his way through the camp, because he takes out, 3 guards unarmed.
Yeah, he not decapitates. What's the word?
He knocks them unconscious.
But there's a word, there was a word that my brain can't find right now. Incapacitates.
Incapacitates, there we go. Yes, he incapacitates 3 guards.
He incapacitates 3 guards.
With his hands.
Yeah.
And they're, armored and have swords and stuff.
Yep.
Although Byra's carrying that axe.
Yeah, I thought he came in with his sword, but...
No. Because there was a line about his hands and feet being used.
Oh, yeah. He just incapacitates them, and...
Which I know it's meant to be, martial arty, but I'm just imagining him just, flailing his foot out, and that's absolutely not what happens, but... Because it's not described as a kick.
Yeah.
It's just a flurry of hands and feet, and, I can imagine a flurry of hands being punches, but a flurry of feet doesn't sound like kicks to me.
No, it doesn't. But that is the phrase that describes that in all literature.
Yeah, and I always picture just a cat on its back, just flailing.
But yeah, there's a moment where Perrin's like, is he dead? And Lan's like, nah, I only kill when I mean to.
Which, that's kind of a badass line.
Yeah.
It's slightly cliche. Still badass.
Yeah. Lan's just a badass.
Yeah. And neither Lan nor Nyneave are really underdone by Moraine, who just summons a buttload of lightning.
Yep.
Just okay, distraction, boom, lightning. And then again and again and again. It goes on for half an hour.
And there's an earthquake a bit too, which causes the horses to run.
Yeah, she likes her earthquakes, Moraine does.
She does.
Which is weird for somebody who's apparently not very strong at weaving earth.
Yeah.
But
if she's not strong at weaving earth...
What happens when there's somebody who is?
And what happens when she's using something she is strong at?
That's fair.
But yeah. Back to Lan a little bit when he's coming up with the plan. He mentions to Nyneave that there are wolves, which again...
Lan with the plan.
Lan... Damn it. He tells Nyneave to be careful because there's wolves at night, which they're around because of Perrin.
They're not a problem. They're here to help.
They're here to help, but they don't know that quite yet. And Nyneave is just all like, yes, because I don't know how wolves act. It's not like I grew up around sheep herders or anything. And there's just this, they just stare at each other for a moment and are like, banter.
There's a lot of Lan and Nyneave banter, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Lan doesn't, like, they get Perrin and Egwene back, and Nynaeve's not back, and Moiraine's like, all right, time to go.
And Lan's like, Lan immediately, they're like, Nynaeve's not back. Lan immediately turns around and is like, I'm gonna go back for her. And Moiraine's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, remember your oath.
Warder, come back here.
Yeah, and he's just like, grumble, grumble, grumble.
But then she shows up with horses, and it's like, oh, shit.
And when she climbs down from her horse, he immediately, like, catches her arm, and they, like, stare at each other again. And then she's like, can I go hug my friend? And then he's like, oh, yeah. And the funny thing about this part is that it's not even in Nynaeve's perspective. It's in Perrin's.
Yeah, so it's real obvious.
It's real obvious, and I am about it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yup.
But yeah, so that when Moiraine is yelling at him, she does mention something about the diademed battle... Diademed, thank you. Battle Lord of the
Malkyri. Malkyr is a country. He's a battle lord of Malkyr, and he like wears a diadem.
Oh, I forgot he wore a diadem.
I'm guessing it means something.
Yeah. I hate you.
I wonder if that means something that might come up later. I don't think it comes up later.
But yeah, she like lists off a whole bunch of titles for Lan.
Lan has several titles, and
titles.
He seems to have enough that most of the time when people refer to him by titles, it's a different one.
Yeah, and Perrin's just like, is he really all of those things?
How can anybody be any of those things? But then we get introduced to Morghese, who's described like 5 ways.
Yeah, she has like a Daenerys level of titles.
Which apparently Lan also has.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then the last bit that I noticed when we were talking about with the Perrin and Egwene and the Moiraine and Lan and Nynaeve show, now that they're all back together.
Yes.
We get a little bit more information about the Red Aja and something about the Lace of Ages. Lace of Ages is just another term for the web, I'm guessing?
Yeah, that is specifically something that happens around Tiburon.
Okay, I thought that was the word that we were trying to pronounce and can't, but I've decided it's Tamarl-Aline?
Maybe.
Something? I don't even think that's what I had settled on. But so is the Lace of Ages and Tamarl-Aline the same?
I think so.
Because the Lace of Ages is so much easier to say, and if those are the same things, I'm never saying that word again.
I don't think that word ever comes back up.
Cool.
Basically, I believe both are just the like specific section of the pattern woven around Tiburon.
Okay. And then we got another mention of the Red Aja, but I don't think we still know what happened with the Red Aja.
But they did something with Elias.
Yeah.
They were after Elias. They seem to go after weird stuff.
Yeah.
We do also learn, there's a lot with Perrin and Egwene too. We learn that at least some of the wolves, specifically at least Dapple survives and Elias survives.
Yes.
Which of course they did, because they just kind of fucked off.
Dapple and Elias are alive, so yay. And there's like a weird moment with him and Bayar's cloak. Like he has like a weird attachment to it. Like when they're burning the cloaks.
Oh, I think that's just because Bayar is like Perrin's like fixation on the white cloaks being evil is Bayar.
Yeah.
The one who seems the most wrong, because Bayar is also just kind of a dick.
He kind of reminds me of Ramsay Bolton in a way, in that Perrin describes him as like he doesn't even hate Perrin, he just thinks he should be dead. Yeah. So he's like evil to a point that he doesn't even have feelings, that he's feelingsless.
We were entirely gonna miss this. I just realized Bayar offers to let Perrin and Egwene escape.
Right, because they're slowing them down.
Right.
And so he's like, if you guys escaped, we aren't gonna travel after you. But then Perrin's like, you're just gonna kill us.
Yeah.
Like,
Bayar is sneaky and also a dick.
Yeah, that it just solidifies the Ramsay Bolton vibes.
Yeah. I get more...
Like, let them go and then recapture them and torture them kind of vibes.
Yeah.
That's
definitely Ramsay. I don't think he's as evil as Ramsay.
No.
Because he does seem to believe in the mission of the Children of the Light, and he doesn't want to do these things for himself. He wants to do them for the children.
Yes, but he does the actions
Yeah.
kind of come across the same.
I think I'd agree there.
Because Perrin is like covered in bruises.
Yeah, we get when they reunite, Nyneave has him like take off his shirt so she can like look at his wounds, and like the entirety of his chest is just yellow
and brown and purple and mottled. It's mottled with bruises. Like, yeah.
And somehow he didn't feel.
I think he was just too distracted.
Maybe
that's what he says. He's like, I think I was too distracted by the wolves and the messages they were sending. But the second she points him out, he's like, oh fuck, like this hurts.
There's also some, I guess, confusion, worry on the part of Moiraine and Lan that Perrin's wolfy status is maybe given to him by something bad.
Lan doesn't think that. Moiraine thinks that.
Yeah.
We touched on that already.
Yeah.
Like that, Moiraine doesn't understand it, so she thinks it's bad.
Right.
And
Lan's just like, whatever.
He does ask, like, did you come across anyone? But
I think
that's how they get into the Elias thing. But
I think
he was asking it as more of like did you find someone that mentored you through this to this state, or did you just pop up this way?
Yeah. And I think before he started talking about Elias, Lan was much, much more suspicious.
Probably.
I think there probably is a level of just kind of unspoken trust between warders.
I can get behind that.
Ostensibly, warders have the same mission, which you don't fully know what that is yet.
No, I don't.
But they clearly share something.
Right. Well, then the other, I think that Perrin and the wolves thing was happening before he met Elias. Because Nyneave mentioned something about the wolves were acting differently in the Two Rivers that winter.
Okay.
And so maybe they were trying to reach out to Perrin in some way.
Yeah.
Because they found that connection to him.
Yeah.
And so this has been happening to Perrin for a while. He just started to really understand his powers and be able to tap into them.
Or maybe they just matured.
They either matured or he started to understand them and then use them, and that's now why his eyes are yellow. And I think Elias helped him channel his powers.
Yeah. I buy it. I think I would not have thought about that, but I totally buy it. Yeah, so I think that's all of the Perrin and group stuff.
Yes.
Back to Rand.
Hopefully they finally meet up with Rand in the next section.
Rand has also, the second half of Rand's adventures in the big city is eventful.
And
he's real dumb.
He is supposed to be not drawing attention to himself, and he does the exact opposite.
Yeah. At least, the first couple bits aren't his fault. So we learn, in the last bit, he buys a cloth to wrap around his sword to hide that it's a harem sword. And he buys a red cloth, which he learns is basically signaling his support for Queen Morghese. There are two factions in the city, the red faction and the white faction.
The red, anyone wearing red cloths in any manner are saying that they have allegiance to the queen, and the white faction is like, she's terrible and the Aes Sedai suck.
Yeah. It seems to be focused around Elida, the Aes Sedai.
Yeah, it does.
Especially with all the white cloaks, and it's kind of, I think, brought to a head by Logain.
Yeah. And so that does, when Rand realizes that, it does make that interaction he had with the shopkeeper make a lot more sense. Because the second he picks up the red cloth, that shopkeeper goes instantly, antagonistic to him.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of his encounters make sense.
Yeah.
Because it draws attention to him. Because even a lot of the visitors, he's saying that a lot of the visitors are wearing white just because...
Right, there are more people wearing white than wearing red.
But I think him accidentally claiming allegiance to the queen ends up really helping him in a couple of ways. One, when he gets to the queen's blessing.
Basil Gill makes a point to say that he's a good queen's man.
Yeah. And then when he falls into the palace grounds.
So
he wearing the red cloth is a good signifier that at least he's not here to kill the queen.
Yeah, I don't think it would have mattered to Elaine. We'll get to that because there
are two things.
Two things before that.
That's one of the things drawing attention to him in the city, and the other is that there's someone looking for him.
Yeah, there's like a beggar.
I don't know who the beggar is yet. We'll probably find out.
More or less.
Because if they're asking, the beggar is asking for him, Matt, and Perrin by name.
Yeah, in a bunch of different inns.
And so when Rand is trying to find a place that he can get a look at Logain, he sees the beggar.
The beggar points him out and has a mob chase him.
Right. So he's running, and then he climbs up a hill, and he sits on a wall. And he sees just a glimpse of Logain, but he doesn't get to see his face. And then he Humpty Dumpties.
He falls right over the wall and cracks his head. And then
Humpty Dumpty.
And then is tended to by Elaine Trakand, the daughter heir, who was also on the wall.
She was in a tree. Her and her brother were in a tree. Right. And she's like, hey, person on the wall. And that makes him fall over. That's a meat ugly if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. Although, apparently not that ugly. Because Elaine admits later that, although was that
it's not a meet cute though, because it's an unfortunate meeting. It's not like there's like meet cutes and then meet uglies. I would say meet ugly is falling off a wall and bleeding and then having her rip part of her skirt off to wrap a bandage around your head. Whereas a meet cute is like, I don't know, running into each other at a coffee shop and like,
okay,
like that's a meet cute.
Sure.
This was straight up unfortunate circumstances. Meet ugly.
Yeah, he falls off and Elaine comes down and they go on and she like tends to his wounds, she like rips something. It's a scarf. She gives him a scarf, which again with the scarves. Why do people keep giving Rand scarves? I don't know. Maybe they want him to be a magician, but she wraps a scarf around his head as a bandage.
Yeah, well, she puts an actual bandage on like the wound, but then uses that to secure it because she has like bandages and stuff. She has like stuff just in her pockets. She just
has a first aid kit
in her pockets
for some reason.
Which like you go, girl.
She's a princess walking around with a first aid kit.
As one does.
Elaine is a lot of fun.
I like Elaine.
At least currently. She becomes not as fun later. But...
spoilers. I like her right now. But yeah, so Elaine's like tending to his wound. And he says that he's from the two rivers. And Gawain... her brother comes in with a line that like, oh, you guys are really stubborn in the Two Rivers. My sister should marry someone from the Two Rivers because she needs someone stubborn enough that they won't let her mull them over.
Yup.
Which is just so funny. Like, I like the sibling banter between Elaine and Gawain.
Yeah.
Like, they seem like they have a good relationship. What they don't have a good relationship, or who they don't have a good relationship with, is their older brother.
Galad. Older half-brother. As at least Elaine will be very quick to tell anyone.
Yeah.
Half-brother, Galad, who only shares a father. Galad's father is Tarangil Damodred. He's Galadriel Damodred, which is kind of a tongue twister. But also, Elaine and Gawain's father is also Tarangil, but their mother is Morghese.
The queen.
Yes, the current queen. Galad's mother is the former queen. And the reason that he's not king is because Andor doesn't do kings.
Right.
It's matrilineal.
What's the dad's name?
Tarangil Damodred.
What's the first name?
Tarangil.
So Tarangil is kind of just like marrying monarchs. Yeah. Like kind of...
Well, he's...
When we were talking
how much of this is spoilers? I don't know. There's reasons for Tarangil to marry Morghese that are very specific and come into play later.
But it seems like he's kind of Marjorie-ing it up.
A little bit.
Marrying a line of monarchs.
Yeah.
I mean, you do you.
Yeah. But so Elaine is tending to Rand and Gawain, and they're just like having banter. And Rand is at that point kind of giving as good as he gets. And then he has a moment where he's like, wait, who's your mother? And they're like, the queen. With all the titles.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, fuck. I was trying not to draw attention to myself, and then I fell into the goddamn palace.
And he's just like, it's okay, I'll just climb back up the wall, it's fine.
He really just wants to, like, get up over the wall and run.
And she's like, no, but I just healed your hands, and you're my guest now, and she's got a big old crush on him, and so she's just like, then Galad comes in.
Yeah, Galad
comes in.
And he's like, you are a peasant, and you have a sword, and you're a threat.
And I'm gonna go get the guard now. And then...
Well, actually, what he says is Elaine gets him to not tell their mother.
But he does anyway.
He doesn't tell their mother. He tells the guards.
It's the same thing.
It's not. He's not lying. He always does what he thinks is right.
It's the same thing. If you tell the palace guards, the queen's gonna find out.
Maybe, but maybe not.
No, it's the same thing. It's semantics.
Yeah, but he also didn't lie. It's very specific.
Is he not allowed? Is it? Are you?
He doesn't lie.
It feels like there's like a reason that you're.
Because he just always wants to do the right thing, and he
Right.
thinks lying is the wrong thing.
Yes, but.
So he can't. So if he says he's not going to tell Morgaze, he's not going to tell Morgaze. But that doesn't mean he can't tell the guards.
It's semantics. It's the same freaking thing.
Galad de Madrid lives in semantics.
I don't like it. Semantics
That's fair.
Like, semantics are dumb. You basically told the queen.
Basically.
You just did what you said you weren't going to do.
Because they do drag him to see the queen. They do drag Rhaen to see the queen.
Like, if you tell the guard, you're telling the queen. It's the same thing. He knew.
Yeah.
He knows that the second he tells the guard, the queen's going to find out.
Yeah.
That was his goal. He just did it so that he could say that he didn't go against what his sister wanted.
Right, but he also still wanted to do the right thing. So the right thing to him was keep his word and not tell the queen, but also do what he wanted to. He wasn't keeping his word.
I'm arguing that he wasn't keeping his word.
That's fair.
He's a dick.
Yes.
I don't like him.
But the guards come and they're like, hey, you have a sword and also you are intruding and maybe you're a threat to the daughter heir and the first prince.
But she's like, no, we like him.
Right. She and Gawain both immediately are like, no. Put your bows down.
Yeah.
And they don't, mostly.
Half of them do.
Some of them do, but a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
And there's another moment later where they're just like, it's a fucking random peasant. What's he gonna do with like 30 guards here? And then and then Elida, actually. Elida's the one who like checks out Rand's sword. It's like, oh, well, he has a heron marked blade, and all the guards are like, oh, fuck. We fucked up. Because they all back up at that point.
They're all like, whoa.
They back up, and Rand's like, okay, they're backing up because they think they're going to need more space, but also they're ready to die. They think they're going to die facing me.
Yeah, and he's just like, I'm just like a backwoods fucker from Two Rivers.
That's his entire line of defense, is I am a backwoods fucker. Do not bother me, please. I am not here to bother you. I just want to go on my way.
He's like, I am a lowly boy from the Two Rivers.
Yeah.
Please let me go.
Yeah.
And they're like, you don't look like you're from the Two Rivers.
Yeah. They mentioned like he doesn't have the hair or the eyes or the skin to look like he's from the Two Rivers.
Right. He doesn't have any of the coloring of a Two Rivers person.
But he does have the accent, which kind of saves his ass.
It does. Because Elida is like wanting to imprison him. And he's just trying to defend himself. And Elaine comes to his defense too. Like, if he was here to harm us, he wouldn't have wanted to immediately climb back over the wall. He realized where he was and was like, please, I'm just going to climb over the wall. Like, I'm going to climb over But I didn't let him.
Right.
I wanted to keep him here because he's my guest and I like him.
Yeah.
Like,
Elaine's whole thing is like, he is my guest. How dare you do anything to my guest? And Gawain's just face-palming in the corner the whole time. like, why is this my sister? Why does it have to be her that I'm related to?
But also, I love my sister. It's like a fond facepalm.
Yeah, because he at every time he has the opportunity to, he does help her.
Yeah, he does. I just like the sibling relationship. It's
fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, so he gets an audience with Morgaze. Rand, like, he's like, he doesn't want it, but he's there.
Yep.
And he's talking to Elida, who is something.
I do not like her.
She is just at the beginning sitting there and knitting. And then she, like, wants to touch his face.
It's like, for a person, I tend to trust people who are crafty. Just like...
She's crafty and she likes plants.
Right. So everything about her is like a kindred spirit. I should like her. She likes plants. She was just knitting.
For context, all of the plants in the Andoran Palace are, like, green and growing and vibrant, and there's flowers everywhere. And... Elaine makes kind of like an offhand comment, like, yeah, I wish Elida wouldn't make the plants grow.
Because it
just seems wrong.
It seems
that
wrong.
we have growing and flourishing plants while the rest of the country is struggling with their farms.
Yeah. And so, yeah, she just likes her plants and she likes to knit, but she's a bitch.
Yeah. Elida is the worst.
The worst. I should, and all, like, just those two things about her, liking plants and knitting, I should have immediately liked her. I immediately did not like her. It wasn't even like it was like, oh, I like it. Nope, never mind. Instant. Something like, you shouldn't, a person who's just sitting there knitting should not exude this much, you should hate me energy.
Because what she ends up wanting to do is she doubts that he's from the Two Rivers because he doesn't look like it. He looks like an Aiel, which is like the third time somebody has said
an Ailman or an Aielman.
Aielman. That's just, he looks like he's Aiel. It's just like a race of people.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
Tam mentions them at the beginning.
I was like, it sounds familiar, but so there's like a race of people.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's something about them.
Yes. There is something. There are many things about them.
Because it seems like a bad thing to look like them.
We'll find out more.
Okay. Read and find out.
Read and find out. Yeah, but she's there and she's like poking and prodding Rand. And eventually, towards the end, she wants to like throw him in the dungeon so she can study him.
And get him to talk.
She
said, she's like, I think I can get him to say more. And it's like, oh, okay, hold back the torture.
Yeah, Basil Gill had warned Rand about Elida before, and Basil Gill was absolutely fucking right.
Yeah, and because at first, like right at the beginning of this section, he's like, oh, I want to go to the Aes Sedai. And Basil Gill's like, nah. No, you don't. And he's like, okay. And then he meets her and he's like, yep, I did not want to go to this woman.
Yup. He runs away.
Yeah.
At the end, when they let him go, he's running.
Yeah, he stands outside the palace, and once he gets over his moment that he has with Elaine, he's like, oh, right, I should be running now.
But before that, he gets off. He gets out of this because of 3 things. He's not a very good liar, and it's obvious that he's not a good liar. And so Morghese and Gareth Bryn, the captain of the Queen's Guard, are just like, yeah, you're a shit liar.
He seems trustworthy. Like, right. It seems like he's telling the truth. He has the accent of the Two Rivers people.
Right. And it would be so ridiculous for somebody who looks like they're an Aiel man to claim that they're from the Two Rivers and carry a heron-marked blade.
That his father gave him, rather than he earned himself.
That his father, another farmer from the Two Rivers, had.
Yeah, basically, she's like, your story is too far-fetched to be made up. It's basically like, you can't make this shit up. This has to be true.
Yeah. And then on the way out, Elaine says something. Elaine's like, it's customary to like not look at when they're leaving so that you don't remember them leaving. You just remember their visit. Rand replies with, it's customary in the Two Rivers to bring a gift, but I guess since you claimed that I taught you so much about the Two Rivers...
That's my gift. And
then Elaine goes... Well, if I told my mother I thought you were handsome, I think she would have killed you.
I love that energy on her.
And to be fair, Morghese might have.
It's kind of big dick energy coming from Elaine in that moment.
Yeah, well, she kind of seems to have learned from the best in Morghese, because Morghese is just like, I'm just going to do what I want.
I loved that.
Also, I'm going to say it now, based on Rand's description of Morghese is a MILF.
Yeah.
Like, he describes Elaine as beautiful. Like, one of the most beautiful people he's ever seen. And then he meets Morghese and he's like...
They look at the same, just slightly older.
Morghese is like Elaine, but aged like a fine wine. All right. Sure. Weird way to describe a person and their mother.
I mean...
But okay.
But she is a mother.
Yeah.
And he likes Elaine.
He does like Elaine.
And if Morghese looks like her...
All right. I get it.
Yeah. Basically, Queen. The Queen is a MILF. And, well, the Queen did have a relationship with Tom.
The Queen did have a relationship with Tom.
And Tom seems like he would have picky taste.
He does. Well, he definitely has picky taste, at least with, like, music and performing. So probably that also applies to women. Yeah.
Or men, because I don't know Tom's deal.
It's at least women.
It's at least women.
At a minimum, it's one woman.
But we don't know the rest of his deal.
We don't know the rest of his deal.
He does wear a rainbow coat.
He does wear a rainbow coat, but it's like a dull rainbow coat.
Rainbow's a rainbow.
That's fair. I suppose.
But yeah, so then Gawain says goodbye. And again, tells him that he looks like an Aeolman. Right. So this is like 3 times.
Rand keeps getting told that he looks like an Aeolman.
And he's
it's probably going to come up later. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. He's just like, I'm from the Two Rivers. Tam is my dad.
Yup. And then he runs back to the Queen's blessing.
Because he's like, I've got to get out of here before Elida catches up and
Right,
captures me.
There's a random beggar looking for me, which can't be good because dark friends exist.
Yeah.
And Elida is here and wants to, I don't know, eat me,
Honestly,
torture me. Who the hell knows what Elida wants with Rand? I know what Elida wants with Rand.
What I'm not looking forward to is Moraine and Elida interactions. I am afraid for everyone in the vicinity.
They are two very powerful women.
Yeah. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Where is Elida's warder?
That's a good question.
Because I was just like, Lan's going to have an interesting time. Wait, where is her warder? Because it's not the captain guard.
No, he wouldn't because he doesn't like her.
No.
Seems like the only person who really tolerates her is Morghese.
Yeah. But yeah, where is her warder?
Very good question. You'll find out. Read and find out.
Yeah.
I'll say it. I'll say it at least once this episode. I think that's everything. It's a big section. We're at the part where things start happening.
Right, we are in the last quarter of the book. We hit like 77, well, according to my Goodreads, when I put in the page count, when I finished reading this section, we are at 77% of the way through this book.
Yep.
Which means that something big is about to happen that puts us into the last act of the book.
Yeah.
Something big is about to happen and cause the climax and like the starting the resolution into the next book.
Yep. Things are coming together.
And I just like...
At least 2 of 3 groups have been reunited.
Yeah, I'm really hoping they at least reunite going into the next book.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that is that moment. Because there's usually just a moment at like that 75%, 80% mark where like one last big thing happens.
Yeah, very fair and true.
So, hopefully they get back together. I don't want to see Moraine and Elida interact, but I also kind of do.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I know what happens.
You do know what happens.
That's the point of the podcast.
Recurring segments. I did not catch any other weird prophetic aura things.
Yeah.
There was more lightning, but that wasn't involved with Rand.
No.
And Perrin officially is just Wolf.
Perrin is Wolfman.
Wolf, because yellow eyes.
Perrin's Teen Wolf, because he's like 18.
I know. I have not seen that series.
I also haven't. I just know it exists.
Yeah.
So, reference. That's Perrin. Wolf Boy.
Teen Wolf.
Yeah. Ship updates.
I am intrigued to see where Elaine and Rand go.
Do you think it has potential for like a love triangle with Rand and Egwene?
Okay. You sparked a rant that you didn't know existed.
Oh. Please share.
If Elaine and Rand are a thing, it would not be a love triangle. A triangle has 3 points and 3 sides. So in order for it to be a love triangle between Rand, Elaine, and Egwene, it would have to be Rand and Egwene are interested in each other, Rand and Elaine are interested in each other, and Elaine and Egwene are interested in each other.
Okay.
If it's just Rand and Elaine and Rand and Egwene, it's a love V. Stop calling things a love triangle if there's not 3 involved.
Because it doesn't. That third leg doesn't have to be interested in. It could be enemies.
Nope. It has to. For it to be a love triangle, all 3 parties have to be love involved with the other 2 parties.
Okay. Do you think there could be a love V thing then going on between Rand, Elaine, and Egwene?
Possibly. Too many E names. He has a type.
Strong women with E.
Yeah. Possibly. But there's all. I think Egwene has a potential for 2 love V's. Like, to be. There's like Rand having a love V, and then I think Egwene has a possibility to have a love V as well between Perrin and Rand.
Okay.
Because I think there's something going on between Perrin and Egwene.
Okay.
Like, there were some tender moments between them, and they've known each other for a really long time, but they also kind of trauma bonded, so...
Yeah?
They were kidnapped.
Alright. Any other ship updates?
I think I'm slowly...
Are you slowly getting on the Nyneave and Lan
I
ship?
think I am.
Okay. We'll check in on that.
Yeah, I think I dig it.
That's fair. They kind of fit each other well.
Yeah, like there's something going on, and it's not just one-sided, because Perrin picked up on it.
Yeah.
It's not just Nyneave has a crush on Lan anymore. I think Lan likes Nyneave.
Yeah. Okay. We'll check in on that. Last recurring segment. Favorite moments. What was your favorite moment? Or favorite moments?
I mentioned it before, but the Gawain being like Elaine should marry someone from the Two Rivers.
Yeah.
Elaine, or Gawain also ships Elaine and Rand.
Maybe.
Maybe. Or at least Elaine and a Two Rivers person.
Elaine and a rock.
And then Rand has another Perrin has better luck with girls moment. And I think...
And that's not with Elaine. That's with a random barmaid.
Yeah. Rand gets it.
Apparently.
But yeah, anytime that him and Perrin for the rest of the series go, the other has better luck with women, I will love. That is, I hope that trope comes up. I'm officially calling it a Wheel of Time specific trope, and I hope it comes up more.
All right.
Yours?
2 of them, again. The meeting between Rand and Loial, I really like, because they're both trying to be so polite to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Rand doesn't want to offend Loial for thinking he was a Trolloc or for thinking that he's real old or just like strange Ogier things. And Loial wants to stop comparing Rand to like a pet. Because Loial is basically like, oh, humans have the lifespan of a cat, basically.
I mean, compared
They kind of
to him,
do.
they do.
Loial is a young 90 years old, and
Yeah.
Rand is 18.
Right.
And like starting to become an adult.
Right.
The other favorite moment of mine is the banter with Rand and Elaine at the very end. Rand tries to give as good as he gets, but cannot match Elaine in wit.
I like that one of your favorite moments has been like a shippy moment.
Yeah, that's true.
Just slowly getting you involved in shipping. Maybe.
Plot twist. I've liked Rand and Elaine from the beginning.
I mean, that's fair, but...
This predates you.
Getting you more involved in the romance.
Okay.
Which is good, because for our in-between seasons...
Yeah, I'm going to be reading a different book.
Yeah.
Or, well, I'll be reading a book that you've read.
Yes, that'll be exciting.
We won't say it here.
No, we
We'll
won't.
save that.
But it will be a romance novel.
It will be.
It'll be my favorite romance novel.
Yes. Anybody who follows you on Instagram probably knows already.
Probably.
If anybody from our listeners follows you on Instagram. They may not.
I mean, possibly.
Who knows?
He's on the Twitter that I'm not allowed to go on because spoilers.
Too many spoilers.
And I am on Instagram with Cozy Critiques.
Yeah.
Because I also can't delve too far into the Wheel of Time Instagram.
No, there are just...
For fear of spoilers.
There's just spoilers everywhere. Anyway, this was Not the Beginning, episode 8, chapters 36 through 40. Next episode, 2 weeks from now, is chapters 41 through 46. Getting real close to the end. We'll see what happens.
2 more episodes.
2 more episodes. All right. Bye.
Bye.